Varying elevation levels add to the realism in a model railroad. Because of space limitations, terrain that slopes gradually from one level to another has to be kept to a minimum. So we resort to rock faces and walls to separate the levels in many locations. In this video, I'll show you one way to quickly create realistically cut stone walls. We'll use high density foam and a few hand tools to produce the final result. We'll start with a small piece of high density foam, a piece of basswood, and a pencil. We'll use a basswood strip about 1/8 of an inch wide. If you want larger blocks, you would use a slightly larger strip. We'll use a sharp number 2 pencil to lightly score a line on the foam. We'll repeat the process, creating a series of parallel scores. You want to press in with the pencil just hard enough to create a groove in the foam. Now, normally we would continue down the entire face of the block. We're going to stop after a few lines here. Next, we'll use a hobby knife to create the vertical grout lines. You want a really sharp knife so you don't tear the foam. This type of knife you can snap off the blade to get a sharp point on a regular basis. Just be careful, use safety glasses when snapping off a fresh blade. This foam is very abrasive, so you'll find that you constantly have to replace a blade in order to get the best results. Stagger the vertical lines to make a running bond pattern. Now, most block walls like this, the stones are a little bit longer than they are high. You can do this by eye, and they don't have to be all exactly the same length because they wouldn't be in real life. Next, use a sharp pencil to clean up the vertical joints. If you used a really sharp knife, you won't have to do a lot of this. Your completed carving should look like this. Now I'll use a small triangular file to clean the horizontal joints. I'm just drawing down through the joint. To add extra detail for walls that will be in the foreground, we can add an extra step. Using the hobby knife, we'll carve corners in indents on some of the stones. We'll use a light gray paint to color all of the stones. This serves two purposes. First, we're sealing the surface and filling into the grooves that we cut in the face. Secondly, we're creating a base color for the majority of the stones. Be sure to work the paint into every cut in the face. Next, we'll use a slightly darker gray and randomly color some of the stones. Be sure to get all the way to the edge of a stone. If you slip on a stone and wind up coloring a second stone, just make that the same color also. You'll use a random pattern, sometimes 2 stones staggered next to each other, sometimes 3 in a row. You want to vary that across the face for added realism. Use a dark brown for a third color and paint a few more stone faces. If you want this wall to be the focal point of a scene, use bright contrasting colors. If you want it to be in the background, don't vary the colors as much. The resulting pattern will stand out in your landscape. This next step is very important. When the paint is dry, we'll use a clear acrylic sealer to coat the entire surface. Don't be tempted to use a large brush and just slap it on. You want to use a small brush and work that sealer into every cut in the face. Also, do not use a spray sealer. Unfortunately, most of the sealers in spray cans have a solvent that would dissolve the foam. After the sealer is dried, use an emery board to clean the excess sealer out of the horizontal cuts. Just a very light draw down the line should do the trick. For the vertical joints, we can press the tip of a small screwdriver. That'll get rid of any excess sealer in the joint. You don't have to catch every one. In a real wall, sometimes the grout between the stones actually comes all the way out to the surface. Next, we'll spread drywall sealer over the entire surface of the cut stone after that clear sealer has dried. Make sure every cut is filled. If you've ever done ceramic tile work in your house and grouted the tiles, we're basically repeating that same process here. Use several scraps of dry paper towels to wipe off all of the excess. Then dampen some towels and start to polish the surface. Notice how the colors of the stones will start to come out. Then wipe with a dry towel to finish off the process. The completed wall should look like this.